Playing with dolls, riding bicycles and making sandcastles is the ideal childhood, but not the story of all African girls. This is the story of Tolu, who lived her childhood in the fear that she will die at 10, as prophesied by a traditional priest.
We all sit down on the mat, the guy sits with his okbele and stuff. And as he threw the thing down, I was like, he screamed, "Ha, ikure! Lati she rapada for moi." My name is Tolu Lokpe Shongo Soya. I'm the self-acclaimed mayor of Destined Estate. 35th birthday on Monday. That means I'm growing old. And I like the fact that I'm growing old.
Unlike every other kid, Tolu lived every moment like she was going to die in the next second, sleeping every night like it was her last.
My dad, I mentioned earlier, is an Philanthropist. Is a traditionalist. He worships several other idols. So we don't even call them idols; they are gods. And we do spiritual checkup. So it's a Philanthropist. Fayemi came one day, and I was already in secondary school. Yeah, SS something, and we all sit down on the mat. The guy sits with his okbele and stuff. And as he threw the thing down, I was like, he screamed, "Ha, ikure!" I remember clearly, I was sweating, like my whole body just went cold. I said, but that tokumbo elati she rapada for moi. If your friend calls you in Yoruba, if your friend calls you to say, "Let's go out to meet any uncle or anybody," do not go. And that was how it started. So they had to kill chicken, pour the blood all over my body, kill the goat, cow. There were some that I did myself. Met a girl in the bus. Our spirits clicked. I followed her home. Apostle walked into their house, and the man just said, I'm like, what did I do again? Here we go again. I was like, we had to share akpada for moi. Bought another one with the pieces of the heart of and liver of only God knows what animal this time around, bait in it, and that thing used to stink. My goodness. So I did that. I remember going for a church service, sit at the back of the church, and the pastor would just walk to the back straight to me and pick me out and put me in front and said, "Everybody start praying for this girl." I'm like, what exactly did I do to deserve? Like, what exactly have I done? I do not have anything. I do not have anybody. So why me? There was a Redeemed church close to my mom's, my stepfather's house that I went to, just a small Redeemed church. And the same thing happened. The pastor just called and said, "Where's your mom?" I said, "She's at home." He said, "Go and call your mom." He didn't even tell me anything. I'm like, here we go again. When I called my mom, what the discussion, I do not know. I just know that she used to wake up in the middle of the night and pray for me, like pray and pray and pray. I don't know. And this thing happened for like back to back for 6 years. I used to break out sweating. It was like the first thing anybody, if you meet any prophet and I happen to just walk past, the first thing they used to say then was, I'm like, hey, what have I done?
Research conducted by SafeChildAfrica.org states that 80% of children labeled as witches in Africa end up being abandoned by their parents, like in Tolu's case, where her father neglected her from childhood.
Every night, like, I don't even know why I'm crying. I just hated being alive. Like, what exactly am I doing here? I remember writing a letter to my dad when I was in JSS2. And I was asking him that I didn't feel like I was a member of his family. I didn't feel like I was a member of his family because I didn't even think that. I don't even know what I was thinking. 6 years old before I knew his image recording in my head that this is your dad. Until I was 6, I didn't know. It was somebody else I thought was my dad. And I really loved that man because that man showed me what a father was supposed to be. You know, every time I think that I've recovered from everything that I went through, there are things that trigger it and it comes back to the surface. And it makes me feel like I'm still not totally healed. It's still a process.
Tolu, in the midst of her struggles as a child to stay alive, she had dyslexia, a condition she struggled with daily, which is the difficulty in learning to read or interpret words, letters, or rather symbols.
When I see exam sheets, what happens is that my eyes just go blank. I don't see anything. So if you see my exam books, when you say, is Tolu a boy or a girl, underline if it's yes or no. If I'm supposed to underline this way, you will see my markings here. As in, it was nothing close to where I was supposed to underline because I'd gone blank. I just couldn't relate. As at the time I was in primary school, I did not even know I was going to finish secondary school, because how can you say you're going to move to secondary school when you can't read? The first level of education in itself, formal education, is literacy. If you don't have it, on what table are you going to build your structure? And I have kids right now. Basit couldn't write the alphabet at 11. He was already in primary 5 in public school. We had to take him back to primary 1 in private school. Basit, by the time he finished his primary school in that private school, was already 3rd position in class. Now Basit can read. Not only can he read, he's reading. Because it's one thing to have an ability and not use it. It's another thing to use it to the optimal level. He still has his own issues. He still has personality issues that we are trying to tweak. But Basit has improved tremendously academically. Not only Basit, we have too many people in my office, the 163 kids that couldn't spell 2-letter words, 3-letter words, doing well now in school. People who are reading their books and making sure that everything works well for them. And I used to go to fellowship, and when they give us Bible passages to read, I'm always, when they want to call people to read the Bible, I'm always apprehensive of them calling me, because I do not want to make a fool of myself. There are some words in the Bible I still cannot read. There are some names I still cannot pronounce. But I've just been able to use the little ability that I've been given to help other people.
Refusing to be defined by her pain, she decided to live every day like her last and give a future to disadvantaged kids, which brought to life the birth of Lord's Charity and Destined Estate Kids.
2005 was when the idea Lord's Charity Foundation was born. I was studying for my 4th-year exam, and I was on the floor, and I'm like, okay, these ideas that have been running around my head, how do I name it? What do I want to show the most on the street? I said love. Where do I want to show it on the street? That's where the name LOTS, Lord's Charity Foundation, come from. But for every idea that I have that is economic, that will make money, is to raise money for Lord's Charity Foundation. I don't think there is another field for me but social enterprise. That was where I was called to, and that is where I will remain. If you give me 2 billion naira right now, I already know what to do with it. Housing for Lord's Charity Foundation, family members living on Destined Estate, affordable housing for people living on refuse dump. The housing project in itself is to provide affordable housing for people who are already paying rent. I do not help people who are lazy. I do not help people who do not work. All my people work. Out of the 100 people that I take care of, at least 99.9% of them are working. Even if they are not gainfully employed, at least they are still employed. That I can help, because I know the person is making effort. And I know that if they are given better opportunities, they will not fall my hand. I always tell God, please do not provide. If these children were created by me, do not provide food for them. If I did this job because I am jobless and there is nothing for me to do, please do not provide. If my motive, because I keep going back to that, for doing this is wrong, please do not provide. But if it is not, if your children need food, if your family that you created on planet Earth need to eat, if they need to go to school, then you will provide. I have never, I'm saying it again, never be stranded when it comes to anything that I have to plan for Lord's Charity Foundation. My fear of dying, I left it behind in that church. I remember that I said earlier, I am not going to die while I'm alive. I refuse to die of fear. In fact, every day when people are afraid of dying, me, I wake up and I smile. I'm waiting for that day very well. I am so expectant of the day I die, but I am going to die empty.
A death sentence, a battle with dyslexia, and an unstable childhood was her story. Yet, Tolu lives her life on a mission to giving other kids a future.